Howdy, this is Liz, and I have a new Flow Style junk journal that I wanted to show you. It's going to be listed in my Etsy store shortly, or probably is now if you're watching the video. And I'm going to apologize in advance for my voice. I have had terrible allergies this fall, and I've scratched up my vocal cords apparently. So you can turn the sound off unless you want to hear the origins of the pages that are in this book. There's a lot of vintage material in this book. It's a vintage theme, flow style junk journal. It is bound with two different cords, yarn type things. One of them is a cord that gradates in color, and the other one is a yarn that is plied, and it's pink and brown, and this one's a little bit more lavender. It goes twice around the inside signature. That's a single signature book, so that you can take these off and do quite a bit with them because there's a fair amount there. This is scrapbook paper, so it is folded in half. It's 6 inches in this direction and 9 in this direction, and I have folded it up so that there is a little pocket right here in the front. And the front pocket, this is held closed with washi tape, by the way, so you can unfold it and use it, has a really nice napkin. It's got a couple of cards that I have stamped, and these are all archival inks, so if you want to color the pages, you can. Second napkin in pastels with sort of a powder sachet type theme. This is a book. It says We Will Bond You, and I think this is from 1934, and it has receipts on both sides. This is a great vintage book page, and it is about 6 by 9. I had to just trim it, and there are great pictures on both sides. It's a little bright on this side for a vintage book, but I just love this image. And this is double-sided, heavyweight scrapbook paper. That is the cover. So that is the front pocket. I have 2 different playing cards in this book with textiles wound around them. And the first one is attached to the next little half page here. And it is a yellow, kind of slubby yarn. There's quite a bit wound onto this card. And this is a double-sided piece of scrapbook paper. It has this wonderful sepia type tone print on this side. This page is from a book that was compiled of a group of junk journalers who picked a color and made their own junk journal and then passed it around. It traveled all across the United States to different junk journals. This was from the White book, and it's a wonderful vintage-looking collage. This is a book on birding, but it had these wonderful reproductions of announcements of voyages for exploring, looking for birds. This is part of a Claude Monet print. This is actually the back side. This is from a vintage book, and they had some wonderful portraits of different gentlemen. This is scrapbook paper, double-sided. This is King George and his mother, and I just like to point out how tiny her waist is when you see this picture in person. This is the coronation, I believe, of King George. And this is from a vintage book on electricity, and these are diagrams from electric railroads. And they're wonderful, a little aging around the edges. And this is a book from 1959, actually, on sign painting, and here was an alphabet in a lovely script. This is a book in Spanish, and it's from the Index, but look at the aging on that paper. This is a book of a newspaper front pages through the years, and I picked out this patch of advertising and articles from 1898. And this is very white, but I think that you could antique it without any issues. This is quite an old book, and there are 2 pages from it. Sort of a compendium of no knowledge at the time, all kinds of different things. These are a list of literature and authors. And here's a group of buttons that are off-white, brown, black, and there's a gray one in there. And that's attached to some scrapbook paper, which is gray and white on one side and black and white on the other. These are receipts from a fabulous book of receipts I got on an antiquing trip I took earlier this year. See all the wonderful discoloration. And across from that, the brightest page probably in the book, but I love these wonderful vintage colors. These are bird illustrations, and they just gorgeous colors. This is a painting by Renoir, I believe, and I think this one may be Monet. Wonderful old hymnal, and this is a sheet from a garage to take inventory of their tires, and it says tubes at the top. I guess they're taking inventory of their inner tubes. St. Elmo's quite an old book. Got some paper from that. This is a page from the Sears Roebuck catalog, and it's actually a reproduction, but the age on this page, it's quite discolored. I have two copies, one that's discolored and one that isn't, so I picked out the ones that are discolored. And at the center, you can see the 4 different pieces of string, 2 pieces actually wound around twice. And I've taped 2 envelopes together and put a couple of goodies in here for you. These, they're 10 different 3-inch fabric squares for you to use. And I picked out the most vintage ones I had, which included several that are a cream or beige color that would look great in a vintage themed book. And a bunch of different tags made from vintage papers. And these are all double-sided, so you can decide which one you like best. A couple of them are in here in the larger pages as well. You probably saw a couple that you've already seen. And then these are page tabs in the same papers. That is on the left side. And on the right, I have some other smaller pieces that I have stamped in, again, archival ink, so that you can change the colors on them if you want. I just threw this one in. My husband made some wonderful tags for me that have a great vintage look. So those are on the right side. And I should probably give credit where credit is due. My husband cut all of the tags for me. All right. And then moving on, these are the other sides of the pages that are folded over in the middle. Again, the birds, the receipts, some wonderful dress pictures from that book, some advertising, and the alphabet. I think this may be Cassatt. It's a wonderful picture. And the locomotives, more gentlemen, and this, I just love this picture from a garden, a party, something very nice. And again, the white collage, that sepia tone print, the second textile, which is a lace and the back pocket, a napkin from Paris, another painting from Garden Scene. This actually is not as old as some of the other things. It's from 1968, but it is a check from the Order of Odd Fellows, which I picked up in Tennessee. This is for Labor and Materials from 1968. This actually is a postcard style card with a history of the building. It's in Russian. I don't know what it says. If somebody would like to let me know what this is, but it's a lovely old building. And then I have 2 pages from a book of plates on design and furniture. This is Italian Renaissance, and this one's English 15th century, it says. Excuse me, 18th century. And this is a pattern for making a wood box from a book I have, or blanket chest on this side, on making vintage furniture in the shaker style. So that is in the back pocket. This book is designed for you to take apart and use all the pieces in your junk journal, and it's ready to go. Thank you so much for looking.